Hello, I'm Rain and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to kind of be talking about my NaNoWriMo project titled Project Nano. For those who don't know, NaNoWriMo has started in November. I actually intended to work on a novel, but I really didn't like how it was turning out. And because it was more of a long-term project, like I've been thinking about it for years, I decided to go ahead and do another strategy I saw actually from an AuthorTube's video. Her name is Abby Emmons, where she essentially takes different like mediums. That's not the right word. Like different shows and movies, and kind of takes different aspects from them and combines them into one to like make a story out of them, like an original. I put that in quotes story. So that's kind of what I wanted to try this year. I've been trying to do NaNoWriMo like I want to say for over 10 years now, but I never actually participated like through the website until I want to say I started 2 years ago, and I've never completed a NaNoWriMo, like reached the 50,000 word count. I want to say in 2020 I actually got, I think I want to say like 40,000 words, and then that last week I just fell so far behind. It was like really bad. And once you like fall behind by like multiple days, it's so hard to catch up. And I want to say that year too, I think that was when I did like my Silent Hill inspired story. And so it was very, I didn't I didn't outline or plan anything. I had like a simple like blurb that I was working with, and I just was like, let's just see what happens type of a deal. Because a roleplay partner I was talking with, she was like, that's how she does NaNoWriMo every year. She just like sits down and lets whatever happens happens. And I was like, I'll do it this year, let's see. And I actually got pretty far, but I really did not like my story at all. So that kind of bodes well for this NaNoWriMo, but I still want to do it. And then last year I did another story. It was another horror story, and that one I actually outlined a bit of it, but I'm not good at predicting how long a story might be with an outline, and so I was nowhere near. I think I finished like my actual story on the 15th, and so I still had like 15 more days, and I was like, I guess I could flesh stuff out, but there's no way you can stretch, like, let's say being generous, maybe 25k words into 50k words unless you're like really embellishing stuff. And I was like thinking about like what to add, but because I already outlined everything, I didn't know when like would be a good point to like interject stuff. I just dropped it, so I completely failed last year. So I'm back at it again. I don't know when this video will be uploaded, but as of recording, so we're 5 days into NaNoWriMo. So I've essentially done 5 chapters, but my chapters kind of vary in length, and my word count currently is actually, let me see if I can. My word count is currently 8,582 words, but that's also including like the chapter and my title. This NaNoWriMo, I'm kind of doing like a mystery-esque story, but let me just say that like I didn't really pre-plan anything. So a lot of the mystery, I'm putting that in quotes, mystery portions don't actually make sense. So I definitely have to go back if I decide to do anything with this story and like edit things and fine tune a lot of things. So this is more like, I wouldn't even consider this like a draft 0. This is like basically a embellished outline. So yeah, so like I said, I don't really have too much planned, but I'll kind of go over what kind of brought me to where my story is now, and then I'll kind of give like little key points of my story. I'll also have Abby Emmons' video linked in the description, the one that I used to kind of come up with the idea. And so, oh yeah, this is the little blurb from my other story that I was working on, where I was like, now that I'm like kind of outlining it, I kind of realized that the base plot of my other story was kind of too close to the book by Stephen King, more specifically the movies, because I haven't read the book, or the movie because I haven't read the book. And I was like, oh, but funnily enough, I based it on another old PlayStation 1 game called Legend of Legaia. And because of how like the towns are structured and the mist like where the monsters come and stuff. And I really like the concept. If you've ever played Legend of Legaia, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, skipping that. Um, so yeah, so Abby Emmons actually, so she recommends that you make like a list of all like your favorite medias, so like movies, TV shows, games, and kind of like write down what you like about them and take certain aspects from various ones and basically combine them into an original story. So she gives 4 specific categories, and then you kind of pick whatever for each one. So for me, I actually made the list, and then I just randomly number generated which ones I would pick, or which ones would be in my story, sorry. And so the first one is genre, which represents your setting, time period, and vibe. And for that one, I got Vampire Academy. And so for me, I was like, oh, I really like that it takes place at an academy. For me, I don't really like high school or middle school settings, especially because I like to write horror. And to me, it's not scary if teenagers are like Danganronpa. Once you get past like the shock factor, I like the story, but it would have been fine if they were like college students. So I don't have to watch teenagers getting murdered. I'm just like, okay. But yeah, so mine, even though Vampire Academy is like, they're technically teenagers, I'm like, I'd rather have an adult, like university setting, and the modern day. And then some of the vibes was like academia and goth and punk. And then I really like the prestigious setting, like with the Moroi. And I'm like, that's kind of what I wanted to play off of. For plot, which is like your irresistible premise, I actually rolled Hot Wheels. It is technically the toy line, but I'm more referring to the movies / episodic episodes. It was really weird how they did the Accelerator movies, but those are some of my favorite movies. So I was like, okay, I put that on my list. That's something I really want to do. So kind of the plot line and like the bare bones, someone recruits like a bunch of people in order to complete an objective. And Hot Wheels is like this crazy scientist, well, I shouldn't call him crazy, but this kind of a jerk scientist hires a bunch of racers with the intent to get what's called the Wheel of Power. With stepping back, it's like that's a normal thing for the characters, is that they're racing. They're just put into abnormal circumstances, like racing in alternate, essentially realms. But then by the end of the first movie, they kind of discover that there's more going on with like the antagonists and stuff, and it ends up being about like kind of like saving the world. I really like that aspect where like they had like a small scope, but then it ends up super big by the end of the movie. So I kind of want that for my story. And then also what I really liked in Hot Wheels was that all the characters, while the scientist offered them like $1 million, or I think it's like $5 million, for the racers it wasn't about that. It was about like being the best at like what they enjoy, and like they're very passionate, and all of them have something to prove, you know. And so I really like that. To them, it's not about the money, it's about doing their best and like overcoming everyone else. So it's like a competition, even though, yeah. So that's something I really liked about it. For characters, which includes like their personality and relationships, I actually got Alice in Borderland. For those who don't know, Alice in Borderland is like, I'm sure almost everyone has heard of Squid Games. It's kind of like Squid Games, except I kind of like it better. I do like it better. I love Alice in Borderland, but it's available on Netflix. I personally recommend it. I don't recommend the English sub. I remember that, or English dub. Sorry, I remember that being not the best. But it is one of my favorite shows on Netflix and one of my favorite mangas. I would recommend the show over the manga, though, not gonna lie. But yeah, some things I really like about Alice in Borderland in terms of the characters is essentially they all work together, not because they like each other, but for survival reasons. So I really wanted to implement that, and how each character has their own unique skill that really only works in certain situations. So in Alice in Borderland, it's kind of obviously takes the idea of like Alice in Wonderland is kind of based on that premise. But one of the key things is that all of the characters have to participate in these deadly games, but each game has a certain kind of skill that's like linked to it, whether it's like physical, mental, psychological, like those are the main things. So each character usually is like in tune with one of those skills if they want to survive like all the games, because they don't know what game they're gonna like be thrown into. So they kind of work with other people And a lot of them, they don't like each other, but they do it because they need to live. So that's kind of what I like about Alice in Borderland. And then for my big idea or my theme, I got Vampire the Masquerade. I'm kind of going off the tabletop role-playing game and not like the Bloodlines game. So for me, kind of looking into the core rulebook, because I know technically everyone's game can be different and like be based off of different themes. So I just went off the core rulebook, just like seeing what it entails in terms of the lore. And a lot of it is about control and redemption. For a lot of the characters, it's about controlling themselves, like their beast, their hunger, just them as people, or I guess vampires, but also controlling other people. A lot of it is about manipulation and making sure that everything they do kind of works in their own favor. And then redemption also, because a lot of the vampires, a lot of them see themselves as monsters. A lot of them have to do heinous things just to survive. Like they have to feed off of other people. And some of them, they can't control the beast. They end up killing people. A lot of the themes can be around like if a vampire wants to keep their humanity. A lot of them seek redemption in one way or another. So I really like that. I'll say right now that my theme has not really played too much into my story so far. So I definitely need to go back and edit a lot of things because I do want that theme to be there. So my little blurb that I kind of have is, at a prestigious university, a group of students are gathered together. Each person is different from one another, but each has something to prove in their field. They are summoned by the headmaster to do something specific. In doing so, this would put them ahead of their peers, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Eventually, they'll discover to their surprise that this event is bigger than they originally thought. They must learn to not only control themselves, but also control others. They gain unlikely allies. A lot of their past is brought to the surface, and many of the characters are out to redeem themselves. Many have done questionable things in order to get where they are, but it's to guarantee a better future. I'll say right now that that blurb isn't completely accurate to my story, but the main like key things are there. So yeah, and so here are my characters. I'm not gonna read too much about them because they're not super fleshed out so far. But we have my main character, who is Jay, and he's based off of Chishia in Alice in Borderland. Let me just say his personality, their personalities are not one to one. Just putting that out there. And then I have Christina, also known as Chris, and she's based off of Akane. Professor Layton, he's based off of Hatter. Shawnee, who's based off Queena. And then Rio, who's based off of Alice. And then, or Adisu in the show. And then Hana, who's based off of On. And then we have Alex, who's based off of Chota. And then I don't have a photo for him because he hasn't been like introduced, like formally introduced. The academy they go attend is called Ravenwell Academy. That's his last name, the headmaster's last name. Sorry, and he's based off of Aguni. So I just have like random notes, but for Ravenwell Academy, I guess some key points that are pretty important. It's a prestigious school. The classes are super small, so they only have one senior. They only have like 4 classes, and each class is the different grades, so junior, sophomore, freshman, or whatever. And it's a university, and they do have a scholarship, but they only have one, and it's extremely hard to get. To even attend this school, I wanted it to be like, not only do they have to apply and have like a high GPA, I didn't even know like 5.0 GPA is a thing, but I saw that and I was like, okay, let's put that in there. That might be modified, I don't know yet. And then, but no transfer students, they have to be straight out of high school. And then, not only do they have to like enroll, like apply and stuff, they also have to get a unanimous vote from the board, typically 5 people, who then like have the student perform specific tasks to see their abilities. So yeah. So by the start of my story, the characters are brought in and they are basically given their final project, even though they still have months before they technically graduate. And this final project, they're like not given a lot to work off of. They're just told that they can't tell any other students about it and they can't seek help from professors. Those are the 2 main things. So my stuff, again, it doesn't make sense because I'm literally writing this on the fly and I'm not a creative person. So like a lot of stuff definitely needs to go back and be edited in terms of the puzzles and the clues and stuff. But the characters are basically, before they actually meet up for their final project, they're all given like an envelope, and in the envelope they're given like basically what's going to happen, like what they need to do. But as it turns out, some people got different letters and stuff, and some of them are like trying to sabotage the other characters, but they found out relatively quickly. And then for the final project, they meet up in like a secret observatory, and they are given like a bag of, I don't know, it's called like a soma cube. It's like where you're given like those little pieces, almost like Tetris, and you try to make a cube with it. But the ones that they're given don't actually make a cube, but each one has like a letter, and some are like repeating letters, and it's not like the full alphabet. So they have to figure out like, what does this mean? So essentially, my first couple of chapters kind of go over them, just trying to figure out what the heck's going on, because they weren't given any other clue. They were just given these puzzle pieces, and that's it. I was kind of thinking it would be like you start off with the puzzle pieces, and it's like a train to like different puzzles essentially. That's kind of where I am right now, but I'll see if that's where it goes. But eventually, all of these characters, so Jay, Chris, Queen, Shawnee, and Rio and Hana, they're on the same class under Professor Layton. And then Alex is not a member of their class, but he ends up knowing stuff about the project, even though like he shouldn't know. And he's not, like I said, he's not in their class. I think I put that he's a junior, and so he like kind of helps Jay out. But Chris and Jay are like suspicious, like how does he know all this, and is he like trying to lead them astray or whatever. So they're like trying to figure out what's going on with Alex. But he did give them important information, and that is not whatever they have to do isn't always in the observatory. Like they need to utilize the whole school and to figure out how to solve the puzzles. And apparently there's one other one other person at the school who kind of knows everything about the final project. I don't know if I want to kind of have it be like none of the other professors know about the project except for Professor Layton, and maybe he might not even know the details, you know? That's why like they can't really help even if like the students ask. But then, yeah, so I have to figure out how Alex would know this information when he shouldn't know. But also, anyway, so Jay ended up, like they kind of like split off, and each person like kind of investigates a different part of the school. But Jay would eventually find, I think it's called like a plaque. Like, you know how like in movies they have like the fountain or like the statue in like the middle of the school, like the middle of the front of the school, that's like the headmaster. So Ravenwell Academy has that, and Jay ends up noticing that the plaque, some of the letters in the writing on the plaque is like off. And so he ends up taking the pictures, and he realizes that those letters correspond to the letters on the cube. So I'm currently at that part, and it took 5 chapters to realize that. But yeah, so by that point, so now I'm at the point where they've realized that. So Chris is kind of figuring out how to put the cube, or like figuring out what the letters, if they spell anything, what do they mean, now that she knows about the plaque, and she's like comparing them or whatever. And now everyone else is like looking for different clues, because now they know it can be like literally anything. But yeah, that's literally all I have so far. I don't know if this is gonna turn out good. So far it's kind of a mess, but it's fun to write. And so I might end up, if anyone's ever interested or whatever, I might just like put it somewhere online and people can like read the mess that I created. But yeah, because I don't plan on publishing or anything. I ain't a writer, so yeah. Other than that, so yeah, today is November 5th, so I'm gonna keep working on this and hopefully getting that word count up. If anyone that happens to be watching this video is also working on NaNoWriMo, I would love to hear what your stories are about. Like, you don't have to like go in depth, because I know a lot of people intend to like publish or, you know, do something with their project, but I'd love to hear like a blurb or something, or just like characters. I freaking love characters. So yeah, other than that, that's really all I have for my update on NaNoWriMo so far. I might do like an update every 5 days, because I feel like that's like enough without being overwhelming. So other than that, I'm still working on like my other projects. It's just like a lot. I'm in school right now, so it's been a lot for me. That's really it. With it becoming winter time, make sure to keep warm, everyone, and stay safe. Bye bye.